So at the recent Eastern Economic Forum in Russia, one of Vladimir Putin's closest advisors said something that got a lot of attention.
Америка прямо сейчас пытается поменять правила на рынке золота и криптовалют. Вспомните, какой у них долг. 35 триллионов долларов.
He said, the United States is preparing to use crypto and stablecoins to secretly devalue its entire $37 trillion debt.
Загоняя всех куда? В криптовалютное облако. Со временем, когда часть госдолга США будет размещена в стейблкоинах, США обесценит этот долг.
He says the United States is plotting to put that debt into a crypto cloud, which would reset the system, basically leaving the rest of the world just holding the bag. Now, this might sound like some crazy theory, but a version of this story has been said before by billionaire CEO of MicroStrategy, Michael Saylor. He actually advised President Trump to, quote, dump all the U.S. gold and buy Bitcoin.
Dump your gold, sell all the U.S. gold, buy Bitcoin, then the trade is free because you could buy 5 million Bitcoin for the cost of the gold. You will demonetize the entire gold asset class, and our enemies hold gold in their banks, so their assets would go to zero. Our assets would go to $100 trillion, and we would control the world's reserve capital network as well as the world's reserve currency network.
The $37 trillion question, though, is how realistic is this, and would this actually work? Because I think the answer is, it's not just going to work. It's going to be inevitable, and I think it's going to happen. Not exactly in that way, but that's what I'm going to help explain in today's video. I want to show you what Putin's advisor exactly said and how the U.S. will devalue its $37 trillion worth of debt with stablecoins and Bitcoin. It's a really interesting story, so with that said, let's get into it. Hi, my name is Henri Jick. Hope you're doing well. Come for the finance and stay for the Bitcoin. So, okay, first question is, who is the person that said all this? Now, his name is Anton Kobiakov, and he is the senior advisor to Russia's President Vladimir Putin. And he's been in that job for over a decade. He basically helps with Russia's messaging at big events like the Eastern Economic Forum. Now, in his speech, he said that the U.S. is trying to rewrite the rules of the gold and crypto markets, and that the ultimate goal of the United States is to push the whole world into what he called the crypto cloud. And once the world is there, he says it's going to move its huge $37 trillion worth of national debt into assets like stablecoins and then devalue it, which will essentially wipe the slate clean. Okay, second question then is, what does it actually mean to devalue the debt, and how does that work? So here it goes. Imagine that the whole world is just worth this $100 bill. Let's say I borrow all of it, right? Every single dollar. And now I owe, and I have to pay it back. The problem is, paying it back the hard way means I have to pay it back and give it back, right? But luckily, I have a special superpower because I control the world reserve currency. So instead of repaying it back with the same $100 bill I just borrowed, I could just create another $100 bill out of thin air. Well, now the world doesn't just have $100 in circulation anymore. It now has $200, which is now trying to buy all the same things in the world because we didn't make more stuff. So what happens next? The price of all those things goes up, right? Things like real estate, stocks, gold, especially the things everybody wants. They all go up. The groceries you used to pay $1 for now cost $2. Everything becomes more expensive because, again, the supply of money doubled, but the supply of stuff stayed the same. That's inflation. Now, when I go to give you back your $100, it looks like I just repaid you back in full. But in reality, I cheated, because now your $100 bill doesn't buy you the same amount of stuff because I diluted the money, so it now only buys you half as much. I devalued the debt. Now, what most people don't realize, though, is that this is literally the oldest trick in the book. And in a lot of ways, it's how the United States has been paying for its debt this whole time. Devaluing doesn't mean defaulting. It doesn't mean not paying back. It means to lower the real value of that debt through inflation or currency manipulation. And this has happened over and over again throughout time. After World War II, during the inflationary 1970s, and even more recently after the pandemic when we created a ton of new money and then everything went up in price, right? More dollars chasing the same amount of stuff. So when Russia's advisor says that the US might use crypto to devalue its debt, he's not telling us anything new, right? He's describing something the US has been doing for a really long time. Now, if you take that same trick I just explained and you push it out to the rest of the world, that's what stablecoins let you do. And just be clear, this isn't literally exchanging the 37 trillion into stablecoins. It's using dollar-pegged stablecoins backed by treasuries to spread liabilities globally. When those dollars are inflated, the loss gets shared by anyone holding the tokens, but we'll get into that later. But also, speaking of integrating stablecoins into everyday life, did you know that it's possible to earn what I think will be the future world reserve asset without ever buying it? That's what now. Here's arguably the most important thing you'll ever understand about the economy. And this is credit to Jeff Booth for this one. Just remember this all the time. The natural state of the economy is deflationary. So what does that mean? Well, it means if the amount of money in the entire world stayed the same, like let's say there was only ever this $100 bill in the entire world, right? And it was always that amount. Over time, as technology gets more efficient, as we get better and better at making stuff, the price of everything would naturally go down. Things would get cheaper because productivity goes up. But the money supply stays the same. That is the natural order of the universe. It's decay. Things get cheaper over time. And that's how it should be. But if you think about it, that's not how the world we live in actually works for some reason. And that's because governments can make more money. And when they do, that's when you hear, oh, wait a minute, gold, real estate, stocks, Bitcoin, that's hit an all-time high. But the reality is, it's not really that those assets are going up in price. What's really happening is that the dollar's going down because we're making more of them. So it now takes more of them to buy the same thing. And when the new money floods the system, all that extra liquidity, as it's called, has to find a home. It has to find a place to go so that it doesn't become worth less. So it gets put into things like real estate, stocks, gold, Bitcoin, which is also why over the long run, those assets look like they go up forever. In reality, they're just holding their purchasing power while the money that's underneath all of that gets weaker and weaker. So then the question is, what if you can expand this superpower, right? You can widen the same trick beyond the US borders. That's where stablecoins come in. Okay, but hold on. If the US can already devalue its debt with regular inflation, what does it matter if it can do the same with stablecoins, right? This is why Russia's advisor thinks the US will actually do this. The answer comes down to distribution and control. You see, when the US inflates the dollar, the economy starts to feel the pain right away. We all see the higher grocery bills, right? The more expensive house prices, the energy costs going up,